Romans 13:11, and that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than we believe.
Shalom, brothers and sisters. My name is Rawchaa, and I have here with me Makaahla. Today, the name of this lesson is Wake Up. This is for our brothers and sisters who really don't have a clue of who they are, so it's going to be, for lack of a better term, dumbed down for the people who don't really know too much about this walk and who we are. We're going to let Makaahla lead us off with the Shema. But first off, I want to give all praises to AHAYAH, AHAYAH, Bahashem Yashaya, Rawchaa Kadash. Will lead us off?
AHAYAH, Bahashem Yashaya, Rawchaa. Shema Yashaya, AHAYAH, 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 Ahch.
Shema Yashaya, 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 AHAYAH, Ahch.
Hear, O Israel, the Most High AHAYAH, our power is one.
Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. For anybody who doesn't know, that's our language, ancient Hebrew, the language that was stripped away from us in slavery, and basically just says, Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. We will be speaking a few Hebrew words. A little disclaimer, AHAYAH, AHAYAH means I am that I am in Hebrew. Bahashem, in the name of. Yashaya means Savior in ancient Hebrew. Rawchaa, the Holy Spirit. Rawchaa Kadash. We're going to start off, let you know that we're going to be skipping around in the Bible. I hope that you have your King James Bibles with you so that you can follow along. Anyone who does not have a King James Bible, you're not going to get the same reading or the same understanding. They've taken words out of these new translation Bibles that are key to understanding. So if you don't have a King James Bible, I suggest that you get a King James Bible. When I say we're going to be skipping around, we're going to be following the precepts, because precept must be upon precept. That's how we get understanding. And let's start off with those scripts so they can understand why we use the precepts and why we skip around in this Bible. Let's go to Psalms 119, 104.
Psalms 119, 104. Through thy precepts I get understanding. Therefore I hate every false way.
Okay. Let's get a precept to that precept. Let's go to Isaiah 28, verses 9 and 10.
Isaiah 28, verse 9. Whom shall he teach knowledge, and whom shall he make to understand doctrine? Them that are weaned from the milk, and drawn from the breasts. Verse 10. For precept must be upon precept, precept upon precept, line upon line, line upon line, here a little and there a little.
So precept must be upon precept, line upon line, here a little and there a little. That's how we get understanding out of this book. Because let me tell you, the powers of Esau and the Gentile nations have tried to fricassee our scriptures to where they're hard to understand. But through these precepts, we're going to get a clear understanding of who we are and what's expected of us today. So let's start off out with the scriptures where our ancestors are describing their physical appearance and how they look. Let's start off with Job 30:30.
Job chapter 30 verse 30.
Read.
My skin is black upon me, and my bones are burned with heat.
My skin is black upon me. Clearly a description of his appearance and his skin color. That's Job. Job was a man that followed the Most High to the tremendously. Satan came to the Most High, and the Most High asked him, "What are you doing? Where have you been?" And he said, "I've been going to and fro in the earth." And the Most High said, "Well, have you looked at my servant Job?" Satan said, "Well, don't you have a hedge over Job?" He's like, "Well, listen, you tried my servant Job." And Satan said, "Well, I'm going to get Job to curse you." So the Most High said, "Listen, you can do whatever you want to him, just don't kill him." And through all the tribulations that Satan put on Job, Job lost his wife, his sons, his daughters, his friends. His skin became very messed up, for lack of a better word. He got boils and sores on his skin and lost just about everything, but he never cursed the Most High. So through his servitude and his loyalty to the Most High blessed him with double what he had in the beginning. Let's get our next scripture. Let's get Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5, and see how Solomon, King Solomon, son of King David, describes himself. And a little story about Solomon. King David, who had a son, two sons, through Bathsheba, who was another man's wife. He had Bathsheba's husband go off to war and put him in an area where he would most certainly be killed because he lusted over this gentleman's wife. And through his transgression, the Most High killed his firstborn son through that union, but blessed the second son, which was Solomon, to be king in King David's stead. Go ahead.
Song of Solomon, chapter 1, verse 5. I am black but comely, O ye daughters of Jerusalem, as the tents of Kedar, as the curtains of Solomon.
I am black but comely, meaning I am black but I look good. Comely is another word for attractive. So we clearly see that he's describing himself as being black. If you don't have the King James Bible, they took the word black out and replaced it with dark. Anybody can get dark through suntans and whatever, staying in the sun, but there's only two races of people who can get black or who are black. Okay, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 14 and verse 2. Jeremiah the prophet.
Jeremiah 14, verse 2. Judah mourneth, and the gates thereof languish. They are black unto the ground, and the cry of Jerusalem is gone up.
They are black unto the ground. Okay, let's go to and all these scripts that we can get a physical description of the ancient Hebrew Israelites. So let's go to the next book over, the lamentations of Jeremiah. Jeremiah had a lot of lamentations because at that time, Pharaoh. Go ahead.
Exodus chapter 4, verse 6. And the Most High AHAYAH said furthermore unto him, Put now thine hand into thy bosom. And he put his hand into his bosom. And when he took it out, behold, his hand was leprous as snow.
His hand was leprous as snow, meaning white as snow. Now, if you watch that movie, The Ten Commandments with Charlton Heston, that was one miracle that they couldn't show because they had the wrong skin color on our people. And he was already white, so he could not have done that miracle on the television. You have to be dark-skinned in order for you to pull your hand out to be leprous and white as snow. Continue.
Verse 7. And he said, Put thine hand into thy bosom again. And he put his hand into his bosom again, and plucked it out of his bosom. And behold, it was turned again as his other flesh.
Okay, so once he put his hand back into his clothing, or his bosom, the Bible says, and he pulled it back out, his hand was back to normal. Caucasians cannot be leprous because they're already white. So that should give you a clear indication of his skin color. Let's go to Revelations 1, the very first chapter, verses 14 through 17, and let's see a description of our Lord and Savior, Yashaya.
Revelation chapter 1 and 14. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. Verse 15. And his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace.
His feet like fine brass, burnt in a furnace. He was a dark-skinned man.
And his voice as the sound of many waters. Verse 16. And he had in his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength.
Okay, clearly he was a dark-skinned man. So you wonder, especially these old Bibles, like my grandmother used to have, had a lot of pictures in it. They all was of Caucasians, Edomites, in Roman gear. That's not the way we dressed. We have a special dress code, and our dress code includes fringes on our borders and blue ribbons around our borders. If I could stand up, you would be able to see my fringes. So let's go, number 1, too, before we do this, there are books that are called the Apocryphal books that the Romans took out of our records and hid them so that we would not have a lot of this information to wake up to who we are as a people. So if you don't have those books, it's called the Apocryphal books, and there's also more books than that. When they sacked Jerusalem in 70 AD, we ran out, they came in and took all our records, and a lot of those records are stored in the Vatican today. But we're going to go into what they call one of the extra biblical texts in the Apocrypha to show that they would seek to put their likenesses in our books, just like they did with all those, like I said, the colorful pictures in those old Bibles, with all the stringy-haired Caucasians in there, in Roman gear. Let's go to 1 Maccabees, chapter 3, verse 48. See exactly how they sought to put their likenesses in our books. Let's start at verse 45.
All right. 1 Maccabees, chapter 3, 45. Now Jerusalem lay void as a wilderness. There was none of her children that went in or out. The sanctuary also was trodden down, and aliens kept a strong hold. The heathen had their habitation in that place, and joy was taken from Jacob, and the pipe was the heart ceased.
Okay. So, did you read all the way to 48?
Okay, verse 46. Wherefore the Israelites assembled themselves together and came to Maspah over against Jerusalem. For in Maspah was the place where they prayed aforetime in Israel. Verse 47. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and rent ashes. Slakia. Then that, verse 47. Then they fasted that day and put on sackcloth and cast ashes upon their heads and rent their clothes. Verse 48. And laid open the book of the law wherein the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images.
They opened the book of the law, the Bible, where the heathen had sought to put their likenesses in our records. Let me bring up a fact real quick, because I know a lot of day one Christians are used to calling on the name Jesus. Now, the letter J is only 500 years old. Christ walked the earth over 2,000 years ago. So Jesus, Jehovah, any of those names could not have been the names of our Lord and Savior or our Father, our Heavenly Father. Everything that I'm telling you, I implore you to look these things up on your own. Do not take my word for it. The Most High told us that he would discontinue us from our heritage because we disobeyed him. He got so mad at us that he said, you're not going to remember who you are by the time I get done with you. So let's look. Help me, Jesus. And like I said, when you're calling out to Jesus, that white, stringy-haired Edomite, you are calling on a wrong deity. Okay? So let's get some scriptures to prove that the way we should pray. Because we're so used to praying to Jesus. And trust me, Jesus, the likeness of Jesus was brought on, I think, in around the 1600s, around the time of Leonardo da Vinci. And what was that other Italian artist?
Caesar Borgias.
The artist, not, the famous artist back then.
Michelangelo?
Right. Around the time of those two artists, there was a guy, Caesar Borgia, whose father was a trick of poisoner. And Caesar Borgia was a known pedophile and just, a person who did a lot of abominable practices. They took his likeness and turned him into Jesus. So that image that you see that a lot of us, bow down to and cry out to is somebody who's was a terrible human being when he walked the earth. I advise you to definitely do your homework on this stuff. So let's get some scriptures to show how we should pray. Let's go to John 15 and 16.
John chapter 15, verse 16. Ye have not chosen me, but I have chosen you, and ordained you, that ye should go and bring forth fruit, and that your fruit should remain, that whatsoever ye shall ask of the Father in my name,
Ask of who?
Of the Father in my name, he may give it you.
Okay, that's Christ talking. So he's clearly telling everyone to pray to the Father in his name. Let's get a precept to that. Let's go to John 16, 23 and 24.
John 16:23. And in that day ye shall ask me nothing. Verily, verily, I say unto you, whatsoever ye shall ask the Father in my name, he will give it you. Verse 24. Hitherto have ye asked nothing in my name. Ask, and ye shall receive, that your joy may be full.
Clearly, this is Christ speaking to the people, the disciples, telling them how to pray. Let's get another precept. Let's go to Matthew 6:6. Through thy precepts we get understanding, because I hate every false way. We've been lied to, family, brothers and sisters, and we have to get out of that mindset of what Massa told us. You know what I mean? It was nothing but a bunch of lies. Actually, we should, most of the things they told us, we need to do the opposite. We there, Ahch?
Yeah,
Okay.
yes, sir. Matthew 6, verse 6. But thou, when thou prayest, enter into thy closet, and when thou hast shut thy door, pray to thy Father, which is in secret, and thy Father which seeth in secret shall reward thee openly.
Okay, clearly. Christ again, explaining how to pray. Okay, next, let's, another misconception in day one worship is that Yashaya, the Savior, is the verses of grace is being misused. People think that they have the right to continually sin and that the blood of Christ is going to wash them clean every time. And if you think about it, that doesn't even make sense. What if I was an axe murderer and I ran into one of the people on the street who's bringing the good news? Hey, brother, have you heard the good news? You're like, what? Did you know Christ died for your sins, and that if you believe in him, all your sins will be washed away? And no matter what you do, as long as you believe, he will wipe away your sins. So that means, okay, you'll be like, okay, yeah, brother, I believe in Christ, so that means all the axe murderers, killings I've done will be forgiven, and if I just keep on being the way that I am, Christ is going to keep forgiving me. Does that even make any sense? I can keep going every day, doing what I was doing before I met the people with the good news, and Christ is going to keep forgiving me. Doesn't make sense. I implore you, brothers and sisters, to use your discernment. Let's get a script that states how if we sin willfully, that there is no forgiveness, no, sacrifice for that. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 10, verse 26.
Hebrews chapter 10 and 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth.
After what?
After that we have received the knowledge of the truth. There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
Let's go to, let's get a precept to that. Let's go to Ezekiel 18 and 24 and see what happens to the righteous who do wicked. Because a lot of us think we got a license to sin. The way they teach us in day one worship is that no matter what you do, the blood of Christ is going to wash you clean. And they're flat out lying to us. You go and you sit down and the pastor will pull out one verse out of the whole book and go off on his interpretation of that one verse for an hour, hour and a half, and it's just like me giving a speech. You take one sentence out of my speech, you could misconstrue the whole speech, make it seem like it's something else, something that I never even said.
Ezekiel 18, verse 24. But when the righteous turneth away from his righteousness, and committeth iniquity, and doeth according to all the abominations that the wicked man doeth, shall he live. All his righteousness that he hath done shall not be mentioned, and his trespass that he hath trespassed, in his sin that he hath sinned, in them shall he die.
One more time, because that's a crucial scripture right there.
Verse 24. But when the righteous turneth away from his righteousness, and committeth iniquity, and doeth according to all the abominations that the wicked man doeth, shall he live. All his righteousness that he hath done shall not be mentioned.
Some of his righteousness.
All his righteousness that he hath done shall not be mentioned. In his trespass that he hath trespassed, and in his sin that he has sinned, in them shall he die.
Con. So, is the scriptures about the wicked who turn righteous, is that before that or after that? Can we expound on that also? Because you can live a life of sin all your life and decide to repent, and that's what we're called to do. Repent, turn away from our wicked ways. Let's see what happens to the wicked who have done wicked all their life and decide that they want to turn around and repent and give their life to the Most High.
Verse 21. Okay. Ezekiel 18, verse 21. But if the wicked will turn from all his sins that he hath committed, and keep all my statutes, and do that which is lawful and right, he shall surely live, he shall not die.
A lot of our people, it's really hard getting through to a lot of us. A lot of things going one ear and out the other. You know, it's funny because we just read the scriptures on how we would discontinue from our heritage. Most of us don't know who we are. All of us don't know, well, most of us don't know our history, where we come from, and most of us don't care. We're the only race of people who don't know and don't care, and that's a very sad, that's
sad situation.
Yes, that's terrible. So let's get some scripts up to show just how stubborn and stiff-necked our people is when it comes to getting information or hearing information. Let's go to Exodus 32 and 9. Our people are very hard-headed and very, very laid back when it comes to this word. We're asleep. We're so asleep, we're snoring. And it's time to wake up.
Exodus 32, verse 9. And the Most High AHAYAH said unto Moses, I have seen this people, and behold, it is a stiff-necked people.
Okay, let's get a couple precepts to that. Let's go to Acts, New Testament, chapter 7, verse 51. We were stiff-necked in the Old Testament, and we stiff-necked in the New Testament, and we stiff-necked today. We're going to see what happens when you reject knowledge and what the Most High will do after we get done with these precepts here. We're in the book of Acts, chapter 7, verse 51.
Acts 7, verse 51. Ye stiff-necked and uncircumcised in heart and ears, ye do always resist the Holy Spirit, as your fathers did, so do ye.
Stiff-necked in spirit. and in your ears. Let's get another one. Let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 6.
Deuteronomy chapter 9, verse 6. Understand therefore that the Most High thy power, AHAYAH, giveth thee not this good land to possess it, for thy righteousness, for thou art a stiff-necked people.
Wow, that says a lot there. So let's go to Hosea 4 and 6 and see how the Most High feels about us not receiving knowledge or not being willing to hear information. I mean, the thing is, you have to listen to information, to knowledge. Not all knowledge is good knowledge. There's a lot of knowledge in the earth, and not all of it's good, but you have to use your discernment and decide if the information is truth or not. We're in the book of Hosea, chapter 4, verse 6.
Hosea chapter 4, verse 6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. Because thou hast rejected knowledge, I will also reject thee, that thou should be no priest to me, seeing thou hast forgotten the law of thy power, AHAYAH. I will also forget thy children.
Because we forgot the law of our power. You cannot reject knowledge, family. You have to listen to things and use your discernment. Okay, let's go to Exodus 24, 6 and 8 to see that the Most High made a covenant with our people. And the reason why we're in this predicament today and that our ancestors went into slavery is because we broke that oath. We made a blood covenant with the Most High, and our people broke it, and we're still suffering today.
Exodus chapter 24, verse 6. And Moses took half of the blood and put it in basins, and half of the blood he sprinkled on the altar. Verse 7. And he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people. And they said, all that the Most High have said will we do, and be obedient. Verse 8. And Moses took the blood and sprinkled it on the people, and said, behold, the blood of the covenant which the Most High AHAYAH have made with you concerning all these words.
Okay, and go ahead.
That's it.
You read the part and all that you have said we will do. Read that again.
Verse 7, it says, and he took the book of the covenant and read in the audience of the people, and they said, all that the Most High AHAYAH have said will we do.
Some of it.
Will we do, and be obedient.
Okay, but we broke that, and because we broke that covenant, we were put under a curse as a nation of people, which will last forever until we come back to the law, statutes, and commandments. Let's go to Deuteronomy 28 and see how cursed we are as a people. We're going to pick it up at the 15th verse.
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15.
Read the 15, then jump to 20 through 22.
All right. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Most High thy power, AHAYAH, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. Verse 20. The Most High shall send upon thee cursing, vexation, and rebuke, and all that thou settest thy hand unto for to do, until thou be destroyed, and until thou perish quickly. because of the wickedness of thy doings, whereby thou hast forsaken me. Verse 21. The Most High AHAYAH shall make the pestilence cleave unto thee until he have consumed thee from off the land whither thou goest to possess it.
Go ahead.
Verse 22. The Most High shall smite thee with a consumption, and with a fever, and with an inflammation, and with an extreme burning, and with the sword, and with blasting, and with mildew, and they shall pursue thee until thou perish.
We have the highest rates of every disease amongst the nations. Highest rates of blood pressure, diabetes, you name it, we on the top of the list out of all these nations. And it's because we're under these curses. Skip down to 25 through 26.
Deuteronomy 28 verse 25. The Most High shall cause thee to be smitten before thine enemies. Thou shalt go out one way against them, and flee 7 ways before them, and shalt be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth. Verse 26, right?
Mm-hmm.
Verse 26. And thy carcass shall be meat unto all fowls of the air, and unto the beasts of the earth, and no man shall fray them away.
Strange fruit, as we hung from them trees, being food for the fowls of the air, or just killed and left to die in the streets after being dragged from, racist oppressors, and just left for the dogs or whatever animals that were around to eat us. Let's skip over to 28.
28. The Most High AHAYAH shall smite thee with madness and blindness and astonishment of heart.
Madness and blindness. That's why we're so crazy. We're the craziest race of people on the planet. Let's go to 28.
You just read it.
30. Let's go to 30.
Verse 30. Thou shalt betroth a wife, and another man shall lie with her. Thou shalt build an house, and thou shalt not dwell therein. Thou shalt plant a vineyard, and shalt not gather the grapes thereof.
Where it says thou wilt betroth a wife, and some other man will lay with her. That definitely went on in slavery, and it's still going on today. You know, we're supposed to get our women pure, clean, untouched. But, you know, if that happens today, it's very, very rare. That was verse 30?
Yes, sir.
Let's go to 32 through 33.
Okay. Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thy eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thy hand. Okay. Verse 33. The fruit of thy land and all thy labors shall a nation which thou knowest not eat up, and thou shalt be only oppressed and crushed always.
Only oppressed and crushed always. 35 through 37.
Okay. Verse 35. The Most High AHAYAH shall smite thee in the knees and in the legs with a sore blotch that cannot be healed from the sole of thy foot unto the top of thy head.
That went on in slavery through runaway slaves. They would bang your knees up so that you couldn't have the the good flexibility in your legs anymore. Chop your foot off, or make it to where you were maimed and weren't able to run anymore.
Verse 36. The Most High AHAYAH shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone.
A nation that neither thee or thy fathers have known, and there you shall worship other gods. There are a lot of gods out there being worshipped in the earth. When someone says, "In God we trust," or "I love God," that's a generic term. That's like me saying there's a whole room full of men in a room, and I say, "Come on, sir, you're next." They're going to say, "Well, who are you talking about?" The name of our Father is AHAYAH, AHAYAH. And to say God, you can be talking about any God. The Romans, the Greeks, the Babylonians, all those other nations worship many gods who were the fallen angels that fell with Satan, and they set themselves up as gods to be worshipped in the earth. We'll get to that with some scripts also too. But I want to touch on the last curse that was mentioned, that thy sons and daughters shall be given unto another people. Makes me think of our cousins or brothers, the Mexicans, who are part of the 12 tribes of Israel, and the Central American Argentinians and all those people who are trying to come up here to America. As soon as they get here to America, their kids are snatched off them immediately. And a lot of those kids will never ever see their parents again. They've been put in sex rings, sex slave rings, and all type of abominable things. So real quick, before you finish the verses in Deuteronomy, let me tell our people who our family members are. The 12 tribes of Israel. Jacob, our forefather, had 12 sons and by 4 different women. He had 2 wives, and their wives' handmaids produced 12 sons who became the nation of Israel. The tribe of Judah, so-called African Americans or Negroes that are in America and still on the west coast of Africa. The tribe of Ephraim or Joseph, which are the so-called Puerto Ricans. The tribe of Manasseh, which are the Cubans. And we're talking about the indigenous people of these lands, because the 10 tribes, well, we'll get into that in a second, let me finish. The tribe of Benjamin, the Jamaicans and the West Indians. The tribe of Issachar, which are the Mexicans, the indigenous people. Levi, the Haitians, which used to be the descendants of Moses' son Aaron, and they fell off. They were the priests. They fell off and started getting into the witchcraft and the voodoo and all of that. Naphtali, the Hawaiians, the Samoans. Anybody familiar with the Steelers can remember Troy Polamalu or, The Rock. They're of the tribe of Naphtali. The tribe of Reuben, which is the Seminole Indians that used to reside down in Florida, in those regions down there. The tribe of Zebulon, which is the Panamanians and the Colombians. The tribe of Asher, which is the Brazilians and the Argentinians. The tribe of Simeon, which is the Dominicans. We look just like them. They just speak another tone and another language because they got dropped off at a different port than we did, a different land. And that's why the differences in the speech. The tribe of Gad, the indigenous North American Indians, who were plucked off the land that they possessed, which is one of the curses that we're about to get back into. But the Mexicans, like I said, and the Central American people who tried to come up here and get asylum through the United States and through the Trump administration, was separated from their families immediately. And like I said, I pray that those children will see their parents again. I praise to the Most High, AHAYAH, that He will restore those families. But that is a curse that is put on us. Let's pick it back up.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword among all nations, whither the Most High shall lead thee.
A proverb, an astonishment, a byword, niggers. We even calling ourselves niggers. We're the children of Israel, but we are now known as a byword. Okay, let's jump to 41.
Verse 41, thou shalt beget sons and daughters, but thou shalt not enjoy them, for they shall go into captivity.
They shall go into captivity. He's telling our ancestors that their children would go into captivity for breaking these laws, this blood oath that we made with the Most High. And that couldn't be even more true, because we definitely went into captivity, and we're still in captivity. People just sleep to the fact it's not a ball and chain captivity so much as it is a spiritual and a mental captivity. But we are still in captivity, families. Let's jump to 43.
Verse 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very low.
Okay, the stranger shall get up above us very high, and we shall come down very low. There's, just looking around, if you have eyes to see, or, even a blind man can see that we don't get treated right. We are the lowest race on the totem pole. All these other nations are above us. And Esau has his foot on our neck as we speak, because we have been brought down very, very low. Keep going to 50.
Okay, verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Verse 45.
He is the head, and we are the tail now, when once we ruled the whole earth. King David's time, there was not a nation that we had to knuckle down to. We ran the earth, and they were subjective to us.
Verse 45, moreover, all these curses shall come upon thee, and shall pursue thee and overtake thee, till thou be destroyed, because thou hearken not unto the voice of the Most High thy power, AHAYAH, to keep his commandments and his statutes, which he commanded thee. Verse 46, and they shall be upon thee for a sign and for a wonder, and upon thy seed forever.
How long?
Forever.
So this is a sign and a wonder, so that anybody who reads these curses can see who the true children of Israel are by the conditions they are under and the things they are going through. And it is a sign and a wonder forever till we get back to these commandments and laws. Go ahead.
Verse 47, because thou servest not the Most High thy power, AHAYAH, with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things. Verse 48, therefore shall thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High AHAYAH shall send against thee.
Or who?
Therefore shall thou serve thine enemies, which the Most High AHAYAH shall send against thee, in hunger, and in thirst, and in nakedness, and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he have destroyed thee.
Reminds me of watching Roots and our people getting dragged into slavery, in chains and those iron yokes around our necks. I mean, it doesn't get any more clear than what we're reading. These curses only fit a certain race of people. You try to match these curses up with any other nation and you cannot do it. Go ahead.
Verse 49, the Most High AHAYAH shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation from far, as swift as the eagle flies. Sounds like America to me. What's that nation's symbol? The eagle. Far away from Israel, and a land that our fathers or we knew not. We did not know their tongue or the way they spoke. So just think about these curses, people, and what race of people they fit. Go ahead.
Verse 50, a nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young.
They don't care about our old, and they don't care about our young. And it's being showed in America, a.k.a. the daughter of Babylon, every hour of the day. Let's skip over to 50 through and read all the way through to the end. 54 all the way through.
Okay. Verse 54. So that man that is tender among you and very delicate, his eyes should be evil towards his brother, and towards the wife of his bosom, and towards the remnant of his children, which he shall leave.
Towards his brother. That's why we can't stand each other today. We cannot come together. There's too much hatred against your own brothers and sisters, your seed, and your wife. Continue.
Verse 55. So that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he have nothing left him in the siege, and in the straitness wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates.
Okay, a prophecy that definitely took place in 70 AD when the Romans came and took us out of our land, when they built a wall around Jerusalem to try to and starved us out because we could not go in and out to get food and goods and services. We were stuck. The ones that didn't heed Yashaya's warning to leave Jerusalem, when they see Jerusalem compassed with armies, some of us were stiff-necked and hard-headed and didn't listen, and they got trapped inside Jerusalem, and they started eating the flesh of their own children. Go ahead.
Verse 56, the tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes should be evil towards the husband of her bosom, and towards her son, and towards her daughter.
Same thing with the women. That's why there's so much disparity in relationships. And, I see a lot of women today, it's crazy, it's sickening that you hear these women yelling at their kids. The kids might be 2, 3 years old, and they're cussing them out. And a child that young is not supposed to be treated that way. You have to deal with our people and our children with compassion and understanding and in a righteous tone of voice. I mean, it's ridiculous the way these women, try to raise our children today. Go ahead.
Verse 57, and toward her young one that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear, for she shall eat them for want of all things secretly, in the siege and straitness wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates. Go down, keep going.
Yeah.
Verse 58, if thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book.
Just some of the laws.
All the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear this glorious and fearful name, the Most High, AHAYAH, thy power.
Go ahead.
Verse 59, the Most High, then the Most High, AHAYAH, will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Verse 60, moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee.
All the diseases of Egypt. Egypt is synonymous with the house of bondage, and we'll go to a script that proves that. There's several scripts in the Bible that show that when they say the the land of Egypt, they mean the house of bondage. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to start at verse 60 again. I messed it up. Verse 60 again. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt which thou wast afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Verse 61. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Most High AHAYAH bring upon thee until thou be destroyed.
We got the highest rates of all the diseases, like I mentioned earlier. And it's not a coincidence. It's by design, because we are stiff-necked and don't want to listen to our Heavenly Father. Go ahead.
Verse 62. Verse 62. And ye should be left few in number, whereas ye were as the stars of heaven, for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Most High thy power, AHAYAH.
We were like the stars of the sky for a multitude. And said before he gets done with us, we will be few in number. We dying at alarming rates through diseases, through sicknesses, cancer, all these GMOs and things people dealing with in the land of Babylon, a.k.a. America. I mean, we're getting taken out in record numbers. You know, I mean, it's just sad when you think of all the ways that they're killing us over there in Babylon. You know, even the new thing now is to kill the pregnant mothers after they give birth. I don't know how they manage to be doing that, but a lot of mothers are dying now just from giving childbirth. A lot of our sisters. But you can't drink the water. You can't breathe the air. You know, all the foods are genetically modified. It's ridiculous.
Medication.
Oh, forgot about that. The medications, all the medications. Every commercial you see that they have an advertisement, they have 50 side effects. You might be trying to get rid of some eczema, but meanwhile, you're going to die in the process, because every drug they got out there, it says, will either lead to death or give you suicidal thoughts to where you'll kill yourself. It's ridiculous. And first thing we do is, hey, doc, give me some of that. That's how asleep and hypnotized we are. It's crazy. Wake up. Go ahead.
Verse 63. And it shall come to pass that as the Most High rejoiced over you, to do you good and to multiply you, so the Most High will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught, and ye should be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. Verse 64.
Oh, that's a key fact right there, Ahch. That's like our brothers, the indigenous North American Indians. When they went after their captivity, they went into captivity, the 10 tribes, the 10 northern tribes who fell and disobeyed the Most High hundreds of years before the so-called African Americans who come from the tribe of Judah was the last kingdom to fall. Those other tribes went into slavery long before we did, and they found their way over into the Americas, where they got plucked off the land.
Verse 64. And the Most High AHAYAH shall scatter thee among all people, from the one end of the earth even unto the other.
The the transatlantic slave trade scattered the tribe of Judah across the 4 corners of the earth. And it was unwilling. We were unwilling participants in that. But because our people disobeyed the covenant, that's what happened.
And there thou shalt serve other gods, which neither thou nor thy fathers have known.
We serving gods that we didn't even know about over in our homeland. We got wood and stone. That wood, this is going to knock a lot of people out their chair, but is that wooden cross. anything that you make with your hands, whether it be in the air, whether it be on the ground, whether it be something out of the ocean, the waters, or beneath, and you look at it with special, like it has special powers, and you bow down and pray to, or, you know, a lot of times you see in those movies, they hold the cross out, like that's going to ward off vampires or something. That is an idol. That stone, the Kabbalah stone in Mecca, got our people bowing down, kissing, and walking around in a hypnotic trance. That is an idol. Go ahead, Ahch.
Even wood and stone, verse 65. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest, but the Most High AHAYAH should give thee there a trembling heart, and failing of eyes, and sorrow of mind.
All these nations look down on us, and wherever we go, we will find no ease. It's time to wake up and get back to these laws, statutes, and commandments, people, so that we can get right with our Maker, the Creator of the whole heavens and the earth, the one true power.
Verse 66, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee, and thou shalt fear day and night, and shall have none assurance of thy life.
None of assurance of our life. It's so evident when you're in Babylon or anywhere else, but especially America, aka Babylon. We get killed every day, senseless killings. We ain't doing nothing. Routine traffic stops, shopping malls. I mean, Trump done brought out all the nihilists and all the racists, and they starting to act up and just do random killings and torturings. It's time to leave Babylon, people. The time is now, because that place is about to be destroyed. Go ahead.
Verse 67, in the morning thou shalt say, with the Most High it were even, and at even thou shalt say, with the Most High it were morning, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see.
It's some horrific sights and things going on in America, and we're witnessing them every day. It's time.
Sleep.
Yeah, you can't even sleep because you might get a stray bullet coming through your house from one of your family. You know, don't have to be Esau or these other nations. You can get done just as easily or quickly by your own race of people.
Verse 68, and the Most High AHAYAH should bring thee into Egypt again with ships, by the way whereof I spake unto thee. Thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
And no man shall redeem you and get you out of this situation. Read that verse one more time.
Verse 68, and the Most High AHAYAH should bring thee into Egypt again with ships.
Into Egypt again with ships, the house of bondage. In ships. Now, I don't care what history book you go to or what history lesson you take, there was only one race of people who went into slavery on ships. That is such a key passage in these curses. Into bondage in ships. We're the only race of people that happened to. Wake up and realize who you are and get back to the law.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, and there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen, and no man shall buy you.
Come on, Now, we spoke of a couple of things during those curses that I want to touch on. The fact that when I said when Christ warned our people, but we were too stiff-necked, and that one curse came out where we had to eat our people. Well, they didn't have to, but they decided to eat their own children. Let's go to Luke chapter 21, verse 24, to see what Christ said about warning us of the calamity to come, because he knew what was about to happen. And it happened 70 years after he passed or was crucified.
Luke 21, verse 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations. And Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles, until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Until the time of the Gentiles be fulfilled, which is just about up. That land, our homeland, is still being trodden down and defiled by the Gentiles who claim to be the people of the Most High, the you-wish people, trying to be us. I hope they had fun, because their reign is just about over. Is that all for that?
Yes, I can read it one more time if you like.
Yes, read that one more time.
Luke 21 and 24. And they shall fall by the edge of the sword, and shall be led away captive into all nations, and Jerusalem shall be trodden down of the Gentiles until the times of the Gentiles be fulfilled.
Go ahead.
25. And there shall be signs in the sun, and in the moon, and in the stars, and upon the earth distress of nations, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring.
What's verse 23 says? That say when Jerusalem, you see Jerusalem compassed with armies?
No, that would be, that's 21. No, that's 20. That's verse 20.
Okay, go up to verse 20 and read down to where you started the verse.
Okay, so Luke 21:20.
Yeah.
Luke chapter 21 and 20. When ye shall see Jerusalem compassed with armies, then know that the desolation thereof is nigh.
Okay, so that was a warning from Christ to our people that when you see Jerusalem compassed with armies, they literally built a wall around Jerusalem to starve us out. And that should ring a bell on things that are going on currently in America, aka Babylon. Trump trying to build a wall around us. Anytime they've ever tried to build a wall or built a wall, it was never good for our people. So that should give you another indication it's time to get out of Babylon. Let's go to 2 Kings 17 and 8 and show where the northern tribes went into captivity and became the indigenous people of the Americas.
2 Kings chapter 17, verse 8. And walk in the statutes of the heathens, whom the Most High AHAYAH cast out from before the children of Israel, and of the kings of Israel, which they have made.
Go ahead.
Verse 9. And the children of Israel did secretly those things that which were not right against the Most High their power, and they built them high places in all their cities, from the tower of the watchman to the fenced city.
Go ahead.
Verse 10. And they set them up images and grooves in every high hill and under every green tree.
Keep going.
Verse 11. And there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathens, whom the Most High AHAYAH carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Most High AHAYAH to anger.
We love trying to be like the other nations. We are a set-apart people. We're supposed to show the other nations, the rest of the world, how to do this thing, but we get so caught up in wanting to be like these other nations, and we always fall, and we pay dearly because of it. Read that last verse again, Ahch.
Okay, verse 11.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 11, and there they burnt incense in all the high places, as did the heathen, whom the Most High AHAYAH carried away before them, and wrought wicked things to provoke the Most High AHAYAH to anger.
Okay, so because of those activities, the 10 northern tribes got carried away off into Assyria, and the only kingdoms left was the tribe of Judah and remnants of Benjamin and Levi, and those were the only ones left when Christ was walking the earth. Was the tribe, those tribes. So, excuse me, because the other tribes have been carried away long before. And it's sad that we saw our family members getting carried off into captivity, and yet still we fell. You know what I mean? How stupid was that? Okay, so let's see here. Let's go into how we are a set apart people, how we're not supposed to act like the rest of the nations, since I just touched on that, and how we're supposed to set the tone for the rest of the world. Let's hit Exodus. No, excuse me, we did those. Let's see here. Let's go to Deuteronomy 7, verses 6 and 7, and see how the Most High thinks of us, how we're supposed to be, and how he looks at us in his eyes. And it's like, us getting chastised. You say, well, if we're God's chosen, why are we getting chastised? Because it's like this. It's to the Jew first, then the Gentile. It's like you having a child, son or daughter, and he goes out with some other kids and gets into trouble. Now, you might have the authority to chastise all those kids, but you're going to grab your son or daughter first, because that is a reflection on you, and you're embarrassed because of their actions, and, so, you're going to chastise or discipline your child first. And that's what's going on with us, because these other nations are about to get it. But he had to deal with Israel first to get us under control. So we're in the book of Deuteronomy chapter 7, verses 6 and 7. How we are set apart.
Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power, AHAYAH. The Most High thy power, AHAYAH, have chosen thee to be a special people unto himself above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
Just some of the people on the earth.
Above all people that are upon the face of the earth.
The water ark. Let's get some precepts to this. And let's get to Deuteronomy 14, verses 2 and 3. Oh, you didn't read 7 yet? Okay, let's hit 7 before we move on.
Okay. Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 7. The Most High AHAYAH did not set his love upon you, nor choose you, because ye were more in number than any people, for ye were the fewest of all people.
Okay, so it wasn't because we had it going on. It's because we didn't have it going on. He chose us.
Deuteronomy 14, verse 2. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High thy power, AHAYAH, and the Most High hath chosen thee to be a peculiar people unto himself, above all the nations that are upon the earth. Verse 3, thou shalt not eat any abominable thing.
We should not eat any abominable things. We have to hold ourselves in higher esteem than we do, people. We can't be and act and function like these other nations because we are set apart and we have dietary laws we're supposed to adhere to. We cannot just eat anything we want to eat. I'm going to touch on what's going to happen once grace runs out in the near future and what the Most High thinks about us eating swine. Let's get a couple more precepts. Let's go to Deuteronomy 27, verses 9 and 10.
Deuteronomy chapter 27, verse 9. And Moses and the priests, the Levites, spake unto all Israel, saying, take heed and hearken, O Israel, this day thou art become the people of the Most High thy power, AHAYAH. Verse 10. Thou shalt therefore obey the voice of the Most High thy power, AHAYAH, and do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
Okay. There's a lot more precepts, but I'm sure you guys get the picture on that. Let's go and get some precepts to keeping these commandments, because we've been so conditioned to think that we don't have to worry about them and that nothing's going to happen to us because we don't do them. Let's get to, let's go New Testament. And let's hit 1 John 5 and 3.
First John chapter 5, verse 3. For this is the love of AHAYAH, that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
That we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not hard. Let's see. See if we can get another precept. Let's go to John 14 and 15. Yes, sir.
John chapter 14, verse 15. If ye love me, keep my commandments.
Okay. Self-explanatory. These are New Testament scriptures. So don't think that that Christ came and Christ done away with these laws. He said, I did not come to change the law or the prophets. I came to fulfill. So the only law that he did come to change was the law of sacrifice. You're not to be sacrificing animals anymore because he is the sacrificial lamb for us. Let's go to 2 John 1 through 6 and see what it's about to love the Most High.
2 John, verse 1. The elder unto the elect lady and her children, whom I love in the truth, and not I only, but also all they that have known the truth. Verse 2. For the truth's sake which dwelleth in us, and shall be with us forever. Verse 3. Grace be with you, mercy and peace, from AHAYAH the Father, and from Yashaya the Anointed, the Son of the Most High, AHAYAH, in truth and love.
In truth and love. Continue.
Verse 4. I rejoice greatly that I found of thy children walking in truth, as we have received a commandment from the Father. Verse 5. And now I beseech thee, lady, not as though I wrote a new commandment unto thee, but that which we had from the beginning, that we love one another.
Go ahead.
Verse 6. And this is love, that we walk after his commandments. This is the commandment, that as ye have heard from the beginning, ye shall walk in it.
Correct. So we're to worship him in spirit and in truth. Let's go there. John 4:23 and 24. Worship in spirit and in the truth way that the Most High wants us to worship. Not the way we came up on our own. Not our own understanding of what we're supposed to do, but the truth that He put out for us to walk in. You're walking in the spirit, you're giving up the things of the flesh. The flesh and the spirit should be constantly at war. Your flesh is telling you to go out, fornicate, and, be a drunkard, forget the commandments. It's just telling you to wild out. But your spirit is telling you to do these commandments. But there's it's tough because your spirit is willing, but your flesh is weak. So it should be a constant battle that your spirit is winning. If your flesh is winning, then it's not going to be a great outcome for you come the day of judgment. John 4:23 and 24.
John chapter 4, verse 23. But the hour cometh, and now is, when the true worshipers shall worship the Father in spirit and in truth, for the Father seeketh such to worship him. Verse 24. AHAYAH is a spirit, and they that worship him must worship him in spirit and in truth.
And in truth. You can have all the faith in the world. Faith without works, meaning doing what the Most High is telling you to do, is death. You have to put this work in. You have to change into a new being in Christ. So, what happens when we decide not to do these commandments? Let's go to Hebrews 10 and 29.
Hebrews chapter 10, verse 29.
And this is what happens when you take the spirit of grace lightly, or you misuse the spirit of grace. The spirit of grace is not a license to sin.
Verse 29. Of how much sore punishment, suppose ye, shall he be thought worthy, who had trodden under foot the Son of the Most High, and have counted the blood of the covenant wherewith he was sanctified an unholy thing, and have done despite unto the Spirit of grace.
Okay, so you're literally stepping on Christ. You're trotting Christ underfoot when you misuse the Spirit of grace. But when we are ignorant to the fact, that's when grace comes in. Because you are ignorant. But once you know, then you are held to a higher standard. Let's go to Acts 17 and 30.
Acts 17, verse 30. And at times of this ignorance, the Most High AHAYAH winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent.
Repent. Keep going.
Verse 31. Because he hath appointed a day in the which he will judge the world in righteousness, by that man whom he hath ordained, whereof he hath given assurance unto all men, in that he hath raised him from the dead.
Did we get Acts 17 and 30?
Mm-hmm.
Said he winks at our ignorance.
Mm-hmm. I can do it again.
Yeah, one more time.
Okay. Verse 30. And the times of this ignorance the Most High AHAYAH winked at, but now commandeth all men everywhere to repent.
Okay. He winks at our ignorance, but once we know, he's calls on us to repent. Because, I said Hebrews 10 and 26, one more time.
Hebrews 10 and 26.
Yeah.
Hebrews 10 and 29. Of how much sore punishment.
26.
26.
Mm-hmm.
Hebrews 10 and 26. For if we sin willfully, after that we have received the knowledge of the truth, There remaineth no more sacrifice for sins.
There remaineth no more sacrifice for sin. You do not have a license to sin under grace. They've been lying to us, people. It's time to wake up. So we are not to envy our oppressors. We are still in a land of our conquerors, the land of our oppressors. We get oppressed and beaten and killed every hour of the day. Okay, so I know a lot of day one Christians have been taught, doesn't matter what color, God loves everyone. Well, let's see about that. Let's go to Romans 9 and 13.
Romans chapter 9, 13. As it is written, Jacob have I loved, but Esau have I hated.
Okay, Jacob have I loved, and Esau have I hated. We are the seed of Jacob. Let's go to Malachi 1, 2 through 4.
Malachi chapter 1, verse 1. No, Malachi chapter 1, verse 2. I have loved you, saith the Most High AHAYAH. Yet ye say, wherein hast thou loved us? Was not Esau Jacob's brother, saith the Most High? Yet I loved Jacob. Verse 3. And I hated Esau, and laid his mountains and his heritage waste for the dragons of the wilderness. Verse 4. Verse 4. Whereas Edom saith, we are impoverished, but we will return and build the desolate places. Thus saith the Most High of hosts, they shall build, but I will throw down. And they shall call them the border of wickedness, and the people against whom the Most High hath indignation forever.
Okay, let's get a precept to that. Ahch. Let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 6 and see how the Most High feels about these other nations. Start at the 54th verse through the 56th verse. Get a clear idea of what the Most High thinks about these other nations that we were taught he loves everyone.
2nd Ezra chapter 6 verse 54. And after these Adam also, whom thou madest Lord of all thy creatures, of him come we all, and the people also whom thou hast chosen. Verse 55. All this have I spoken before thee, O AHAYAH, because thou madest the world for our sakes. Verse 56. As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
As for those other nations, thou hast said they are spittle. Read that last verse again.
Verse 56. As for the other people which also come of Adam, thou hast said that they are nothing, but be like unto spittle, and hast likened the abundance of them unto a drop that falleth from a vessel.
Okay, that should be self-explanatory. You know, the Most High does not love everyone. He has a special people, which is us, and the other nations, he pretty much could care less. You know, there will be people of all nations that make it under the grace and, will be able to see the kingdom of heaven. But if they're not doing these laws, statutes, and commandments, they're not going to make it either. So let's go where it says faith without works is death. James 2:14 through 24. Faith without works is death. You have to put this work in. You can say, I love you, oh God, oh God. But if you're not putting in the work, he's not going to receive the love. He doesn't look at you as you love him. Because the love of the Most High is that we keep his commandments, and his commandments are not grievous.
James chapter 2, verse 14. What doeth it profit, my brethren, though a man say he have faith and have not works? Can faith save him? Verse 15. If a brother or sister be naked and destitute of daily food. Verse 16. And one of you say unto them, depart in peace, be ye warned and filled. Notwithstanding ye give them not those things which are needful to the body, which doeth profit. Verse 17. Even so faith, if it have not works, is dead, being alone.
Faith without works is death, being alone. So many people say, if there was a God, why would he let the things go on that happen in the earth? There must not be a God. Well, let's go into some scriptures to show what happened, what events took place for the reason why there's so much calamity going on in the earth now and in the past. So we know that Satan was kicked out of heaven. Let's go there and get those scripts and prove that Satan, there was a war in heaven, and him and his angels did not prevail. And because of that, him and a third of the angels, which are stars, doing their duty for the Most High. An angel can take on just about any form he wants to. Let's go to Revelations 12 and 1, and we'll end it up at 9.
Revelation chapter 12, verse 1. And there appeared a great wonder in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun and the moon under her feet, and upon her head a crown of 12 stars.
A woman clothed with the sun, with a crown of 12 stars above her head. The woman that the scripture is speaking of is the nation of Israel. We are considered the Most High's woman. And whenever we go astray, he looks at us as fornicating against him. The 12 stars are the 12 tribes of Israel. Salakia.
Verse 2, and she being with child cried, travailing in birth and pain to be delivered.
That child is Christ. And the birthing pains that she's going through is us being in tribulation. And before a child is born, there is always, what's the word?
Travailing?
Yeah, a woman in travail, which means like a woman about to give birth. So when a woman is about to give birth, there is much pain before the delivery. And that's what's going on with us as a people. We have to go through these birthing pains before we are delivered out of this situation that we are currently in. And those birthing pains are going on right now. But just like, the pain that the woman goes through, there's so much joy afterwards. When the child is born, there is such joy, and the pains are forgotten. Continue.
Verse 3, and there appeared another wonder in heaven, and behold, a great red dragon having 7 heads and 10 horns, and 7 crowns upon his heads. Verse 4, and his tail drew the 3rd part of the stars of heaven, and did cast them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman, which was ready to be delivered, for to devour her child as soon as it was born.
King Herod, when Christ was born, as soon as he heard the news, he knew that the child would be born before it was born, because all of their prognosticators and astrologers So he was looking to kill the child, our Lord and Savior, as soon as he was born.
Verse 5, and she brought forth a man-child, who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up unto the Most High AHAYAH, into his throne.
To sit on the right hand of the Most High AHAYAH. We all know who that child is. Yashaya Christ.
Verse 6, and the woman fled into the wilderness, where she have a place prepared of the Most High AHAYAH, that they should feed her there 1,260 days.
The wilderness is where the Most High likes for us to be. For some reason, which I really don't know, but we were in the wilderness when we became a nation with Moses, and we will be back in the wilderness as a nation very shortly, because prophecy says so. We're going to hit that script right after this. We will be back in the same wilderness, awaiting our Lord and Savior, Yashaya Christ, to crack that sky. Those of us that aren't stiff-necked enough, and those of us who are putting in this work.
Verse 7, and there was war in heaven. Makaahla and his angels fought against his dragons. Salakia. And there was war in heaven. Makaahla and his angels fought against the dragon, and the dragon fought against his angels. Verse 8, and prevailed not, neither was their place found any more in heaven.
They prevailed not, neither was there found any more a place for them in the heavens.
Verse 9, and the great dragon was cast out, that old serpent called the devil and Satan, which deceiveth the whole world. He was cast out into the earth, and his angels were cast out with him.
Can you hold it right there? You know a precept for that, where the angels who kept not their first estate?
Yes, that's Jude.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Jude 1. Not mistaken. Let's hit that real quick and we'll come right back. Hit you with a precept real quick.
Jude 1 and 6. And the angels which kept not their first estate, but left their own habitation, he had reserved in everlasting chains under darkness unto the judgment of the great day.
So they are chained in everlasting darkness, waiting on the judgment. Okay, let's go back to Revelations and pick it back up.
Revelation 12 and 10. And I heard a loud voice saying in heaven, now is come salvation and strength in the kingdom of our power AHAYAH, and the power of his son Yashaya the anointed. For the accuser of our brethren is cast down, which accused them before our power day and night. Keep going.
Yes.
Verse 11. And they overcame him by the blood of the Lamb, and by the word of their testimony, and they loved not their lives unto the death.
Okay. I'm going to need to, well, she can edit it, but I'm going to find out where it says, woe to the inhabitants of the earth.
That's 12. Verse 12. Therefore rejoice ye heavens, and ye that dwell in them. Woe to the inhabitants of the earth and of the sea, for the devil is come down unto you having great wrath, because he knoweth that he hath but a short time.
So that's why there's so much calamity and things that have been going on in the earth for so long. Because woe to the inhabitants of the earth, for Satan has been cast down, and he knows that he has a short time, and he's in his last seconds of causing conflict and debate and strife on this earth. He is in his last seconds. So did we finish up all the scripts for that?
And that's why so much chaos is going on.
Absolutely.
In the world.
So let's see about this wilderness that we just read about. Let's go to Ezekiel 20 and 35.
Okay. Ezekiel chapter 20, verse 35. And I will bring you into the wilderness of the people, and there will I plead with you face to face.
Plead with you face to face. That doesn't mean he's going to be begging us to do the right thing. That means he's going to be chastising us if we don't do the right thing. Once we are back in the wilderness, just like the wilderness when Moses and our forefathers were, and they got chastised because all the miracles that the Most High performed to get us out of Egypt. As soon as Moses went up to receive the law, they were down making idols and, going buck wild, and they died. The Most High killed them. All of those wicked people that did not want to conform to the law was punished and killed. And the same thing will happen very shortly when he gathers his elect to the wilderness again. Continue.
Verse 36. Like as I pleaded with your fathers in the wilderness of the land of Egypt, so will I plead with you, saith the Most High, AHAYAH, thy power. Verse 37. And I will cause you to pass under the rod, and I will bring you into the bond of the covenant.
Pass under the rod. Bring you back into the bond of the covenant, which is the law. And anybody who don't have it right by that time will be killed.
Verse 38, and I will purge out from among you the rebels, and them that transgress against me, and I will bring them forth out of the country where they sojourn, and they shall not enter into the land of Israel, and ye shall know that I am the Most High, AHAYAH, thy power.
Just like I said, purging out the rebels, same thing. Just means he's going to kill anybody who's rebellious against his word. So it's time to get yourself together, brothers and sisters, because there's not a lot of time left. Let's see what's going to happen, like people eating swine and things of that nature, because purge, a lot of people are like, oh, that's not what they mean when they say purge. So let's go to Isaiah 66 and 17. This is a future prophecy of us when we're in the wilderness and people not operating correctly.
Isaiah chapter 66, verse 17. They that sanctify themselves and purify themselves in the gardens behind one tree in the midst, eating swine's flesh, and the abomination and the mouse shall be consumed together, saith the Most High, AHAYAH.
So there's still going to be people trying to hide behind a tree and eat some pork and mice and all of that stuff, which they secretly given to the inhabitants of America today. Mice and human and aborted fetuses and swine. They put swine in everything. They got swine in ice cream. You can't, even though you might think you're getting away with not eating swine, you got to really look into the labels of the things you're eating in America, because they're putting swine and mice in everything. They will be consumed in an instant. You won't even be able to swallow your food. He's going to consume you on the spot. You, the pork, the mouse, whatever it is that's abominable that you're eating. Okay, let's get that precept.
Ecclesiasticus in your Apocrypha, chapter 23, verse 19, it reads, Such a man only feareth the eyes of men, and knoweth not that the eyes of the Most High are 10,000 times brighter than the sun, beholding all the ways of men, and considering the most secret parts.
Okay, so let's get ready to close this out. Let's hit Matthew 7, 21 and 23.
Matthew 7, 21 and 23.
Yeah, because a lot of people still think, oh man, I didn't exorcise demons. I done did this and I done did that, but I ain't doing the law. So let's see what Yashaya has to say about that.
Matthew chapter 7 verse 21. Not everyone that saith unto me, Lord, Lord, shall enter into the kingdom of heaven, but he that doeth the will of my Father which is in heaven.
Okay, so, and keep going.
Verse 22. Many will say to me in that day, Lord, Lord, have we not prophesied in thy name, and in thy name have cast out devils, and in thy name done many wonderful works?
Go ahead.
Verse 23. And then will I profess unto them, I never knew you. Depart from me, ye that work iniquity.
Okay, he's going to say, I never knew you. Get away from me, you workers of iniquity. So let's close it out with this script right here. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 13. And this should sum it all up. Our Lord and Savior will say, I never knew you, you workers of iniquity. You know, a lot of people, day one Christians, think they got it going on. They go to church for that 1 hour, hear that one passage out of the book, never open up their books anymore that week. The book collects dust. They dust it off and bring it to church the next week, get one verse out of the whole Bible, and never read anything else or do any other commandments, and think that they are really good, and that when they see Yashaya, that it's going to be all rosy. But let me tell you this. A lot of people, there's a deception going on in Day One Church about a rapture. And there is no such thing in the Bible. They think that, you know, all this calamity going on, but right before it gets real bad, the Most High, or Salakia, Christ is going to come, and he's going to rapture all the good people and spare them from the calamity that is about to come. We're going to hit these scripts before we do Ecclesiastes. We're going to close with Ecclesiastes. So let's get some scripts to touch on that real quick. Let's go to 2nd Esdras chapter 13, because people are under a deception that if you are left behind, that somehow you're cursed because you've missed a rapture, which is they're going to try and fake an event, some type of rapture event, and to have people running around thinking that they missed a rapture.
We got 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 15 and 16. It reads, Show me now yet the interpretation of this dream. Verse 16. For as I conceive in my understanding, woe unto them that should be left in those days, and much more woe unto them that are not left behind.
Woe unto them that shall be left in those days, but much more woe to those that are not left behind. Because all these FEMA camps, guillotines, I just read something where the United States just ordered 30,000 guillotines. What else they got waiting on for them? The mark of the beast. Martial law, all these tortures, and you do not want to go through that. You want to be able to get yourself out of this condition and flee Babylon, aka America, because there is a strategy and a plan that the Most High put forth for us to maneuver through these last days. But without these books that they took out, you would never even know that that was possible or that you should do that. Because we think to be left behind
is a curse. Continue.
Verse 19, therefore are they come into great perils and many necessities, like as these dreams declare. Verse 20, yet is it easier for him that is in danger to come into these things than to pass away as a cloud out of the world, and not to see the things that happen in the last days. And he answered unto me and said,
hold on. So is it easier for one to miss out on all these things about to go on and pass away as a cloud out of the sky than to see your Lord and Savior crack that sky, waiting on him patiently in the wilderness? Go ahead.
21, the interpretation of the vision shall I show thee, and I will open unto thee the thing that thou hast required. Verse 22, whereas thou hast spoken of them that are left behind. This is the interpretation. Keep going.
Yes, sir.
Verse 23, he that shall endure the peril in that time have kept himself.
He that endures the peril that comes on us in this time have kept himself, meaning you have been doing the Most High's will, laws, statutes, and commandments to endure the peril that's about to come.
Great tribulation.
Absolutely, the tribulation times.
Verse 23, they that be fallen into danger are such as have works in faith towards the Almighty.
Okay. Go ahead.
Verse 24, know this therefore, that they which be left behind are more blessed than they that be dead.
They that are left behind are more blessed than they that be dead. If you are living righteously, you decide to stay in Babylon and you die through the calamities and the tortures, because you will be tested. When they get that guillotine over your neck and they ask you, who are you riding with? And you better say the Most High, AHAYAH and Yashaya, because if you don't, all your life of righteousness went down the tubes in 1 second. So it is you're more blessed to be left behind, because those that were not had to endure some very tough times, troubles, and tribulations. Can we skip up to 40? Is that where it says the time of the end?
The time of the end.
Chapter 13. Pretty sure. Starting at verse 40. Okay, you know what? While we're here, let's go to 48. I think that says about the ones that are left behind.
Second Ezra chapter 13 verse 48. But those that be left behind of thy people are they that are found within my borders.
So those that are left behind in those days that are more blessed are those that are found within his borders in the land of Jordan, the wilderness area. So, thank you, the water. So let me see what that is.
Verse 49, now when he destroyeth the multitude of the nations that are gathered together, he shall defend his people that remain.
Absolutely. He will defend his people that remain, that are within his borders, that are left behind. Let's get a precept for that. Let's get a couple precepts. Okay. We're in 2nd Ezra, chapter 12, verse 34.
2nd Ezra chapter 12 verse 34, for the rest of my people shall he deliver with mercy, those that have been preserved upon my borders, and he shall make them joyful until the coming of the day of judgment, whereof I have spoken unto thee from the beginning.
See that, people? That's why they took these books out, because they don't want you knowing this information. Let's get a precept in the Bible that matches up perfectly with what we just read, and that's Daniel 11, And we're going to start at the 40th verse.
Daniel 11, chapter 40. And at the time of the end shall the king of the south push at him, and the king of the north shall come against him like a whirlwind.
We both know these two powers are Russia and their coalition, and the United States and their coalition. This last war has already started, people. It just hasn't gone full-blown yet. What's going on over in Syria and Israel is just the beginning of what's to come. It's time to leave Babylon, a.k.a. America. Go ahead, Ahch.
With chariots and with horsemen and with many ships, and he shall enter into the countries and shall overflow and pass over.
Go ahead.
Verse 41. He shall enter also into the glorious land,
which is Israel. He's overthrowing all these nations. They're battling, and while we're in the wilderness at peace, all these nations are destroying themselves. Because a lot of people say, well, there's nowhere to go. There's going to be no safe place on earth. There is a safe place, and we're telling you right now what it is.
Even Edom and Moab, and the chief of the children of Ammon.
That is the area of Jordan today. Ammon, Jordan, Moab, Edom.
We got a precept for that.
Let's hit that precept up.
This is 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 7. It says, and every one that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, verse 8, shall be preserved from the said pearls.
Now, I'm sorry, but if you don't believe, then you cannot be saved from this. If you're stiff-necked and don't want to hear this, you will not be saved from this. Start over, please.
Okay, verse 7, 2nd Ezra chapter 9, verse 7. It says, and everyone that shall be saved and shall be able to escape by his works and by faith, whereby ye have believed, verse 8, shall be preserved from the said pearls, and shall see my salvation in my land and within my borders.
Within my land, within my borders that we just spoke about.
For I have sanctified them for me from the beginning.
Come on, let's get one more for him in the canonical books. Let's go to Isaiah 11 and 14.
Isaiah chapter 11, 14. But they shall fly upon the shoulders of the Philistines,
which is the modern day Palestinians,
towards the west. They shall spoil them of the east together. They shall lay their hand upon Edom and Moab, and the children of Ammon shall obey them.
And the children of Ammon shall obey them. Those are the lands of Jordan today. Let's get one last precept for that. Isaiah 16, 1 through 4.
Isaiah 16, verse 1. Send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Selah, or Petra.
The lamb, we know, is Christ. To the land of Selah. What is the land of Selah,
Petra.
Yeah, if you look that up in the Strong's Concordance, it says a land in Edom. And Selah is synonymous with rock, which means Petra.
Verse 1 again. Send ye the lamb to the ruler of the land from Petra, to the wilderness, unto the mount of the daughter of Zion. Verse 2. For it shall be that as a wandering bird cast out of the nest, so the daughters of Moab should be at the fords of Ahnah. Verse 3. Take counsel, execute judgment, make thy shadow as the night in the midst of the noonday. Hide the outcasts, bewray not him that wandereth. Verse 4.
That's us, the outcasts. Bewray not the ones that are wandering in the wilderness.
Verse 4, let my outcasts dwell with thee, Moab. Go ahead,
the Most High's outcasts, let them dwell with Moab. Repeat that.
Verse 4, let my outcast dwell with thee, Moab. Be thou a covert to them from the face of the spoiler. From the extortioner is at an end. The spoiler ceaseth. The oppressors are consumed out of the land.
Because the oppressors will be consumed out of the land. He's telling the people of Moab to conceal us, to hide us out in that land, his outcasts from the other nations. We were scattered across the whole entire earth. We are the outcasts of the earth. And he's commanding the land and the people to hide us and protect us. Go ahead. Is that it?
Yeah, that's it on that.
Okay, so I'm glad that I remembered to put those scripts in there so that people know that we are to flee these nations, because the calamity is just about it. I mean, it's already started, and there's no time to waste. No time to waste, because the destruction will come in 1 hour. Let's get that real quick, so that they know once the thing starts, there's not going to be any time to react.
Said 1 hour.
Yeah.
Revelation 18:10.
Yes, sir.
Revelation chapter 18:10. Standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
Okay, go back to 3 so we can get some characteristics of this place they're calling Babylon, because, you know, we had a lot of stiff-necked people that are going to say, oh, that's back in, olden days Babylon.
Revelation 18, verse 3. For all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication.
All nations have drank of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. And fornication is not just pertaining to sexual fornication. We're talking spiritual fornication. All these nations try to be like America.
And the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her. And the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies.
Everybody gets rich off of this nation. You know, we import goods from everywhere, and they get rich off of our economy.
Verse 4, and I heard another voice from heaven said, Salakia, and I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues.
Okay, so some people, even our fellow brothers as Hebrews, some of them think that that just means spiritually. But clearly you can hear that if you come out of her spiritually, which we have to, you will not partake in her sins. You are to be in the world, but not of the world. But when you come out of her physically, then you won't partake of any of her plagues. There's so many, the plagues have already started in Babylon, aka America, with the flooding, the East Coast, the perpetual fires on the West Coast, tornadoes everywhere, earthquakes. The plagues that were set to be put on America have already started. We had a 4-year oppression in America and a 400-year oppression and affliction in America, and that 400 years is up, and we'll touch on that too real quick when we get done. Go ahead,
Verse 5, for her sins have reached unto heaven, and the Most High AHAYAH have remembered her iniquities.
Her sins have reached all the way up to heaven, with same-sex marriages, with gene splicing, mixing animals and humans, the GMO foods, like I said, the chemtrails, little kids being able to change their gender, you know, at 5 and 6, you know what I mean, don't even really know who they are yet. and they're allowed to change their gender. The sins and abominations of this place, America, have reached up to heaven. Go ahead.
Verse 6, reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works.
No different than Sodom and Gomorrah. This place is Sodom and Gomorrah to the 10th power, and it's got a judgment coming. Go ahead.
In the cup which she hath filled to her double.
She's going to get double for what she has put out against our people, our ancestors, what they're still doing to us today. Go ahead.
Verse 7, how much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her.
One more time on that one, up.
How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her.
She have lived deliciously, and she really thinks, as far as the land, the country, that she sits alone and there's nobody else beside her. You know, they say the number one superpower. Go ahead.
For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow.
You see that? They think they the number one superpower. They sit alone as a queen. It makes me think of the Statue of Liberty out there that they have sitting proud and tall. And they think that they will never see any sorrow because of their military might. Let's get some precepts and some more in-depth look on that in Isaiah 47, and we'll come back and pick it up at verse 9. Book of Isaiah, chapter 47, start at the 10th verse to the 14th.
Isaiah chapter 47, verse 10. For thou hast trusted in thy wickedness. Thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge, it hath perverted thee. And thou hast said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me.
See that? Go ahead.
Verse 11. Therefore shall evil come upon thee. Thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee. Thou shalt not be able to put it off, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know.
Desolation will come suddenly, and they will not be able to put it off.
Verse 12. Stand now with thine enchantments, and with the multitude of thy sorceries, wherein thou hast labored from thy youth. If so be thou shalt be able to profit, if so be thou mayest prevail.
They trust in their sorceries and their abominations and their prognosticators and their astrologers to forewarn them and to get them out of danger. And I implore you to look up the secrets of the founding fathers to see how the so-called founding fathers founded this land. They founded it on witchcraft and sorcery. And that's on the History Channel, and it's called The Secrets of the Founding Fathers. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, all of those so-called founding fathers were nothing but Satanists. You can look that up. Continue.
Verse 13. Thou art weary in the multitude of thy counsels. Let now the astrologers, the stargazers, the monthly prognosticators stand up and save thee from these things that shall come upon thee. Verse 14. Behold, they should be as stubble. The fire shall burn them. They shall not deliver themselves from the power of the flame.
They will be as stubble. They will not be able to deliver themselves from the flame. Nuclear war. And trust me, this place, Babylon, aka America, is going down before the end of the world, so to speak. It will be already burning in torment, and we will show that in these scripts coming back up right here, that the rest of the world will be looking and wailing and just in awe of what happened to the so-called great city, America. Go back to Revelations chapter 18, pick it back up at the 9th verse. We're going to read till verse 19.
18 and 19, you said?
Yeah, we'll start at verse 9 and go all the way through.
Revelation chapter 18, verse 9. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning.
They'll be able to see the smoke of her burning from across the seas, because this place is, America is going to be a ruinous, burning heap.
Verse 10, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come.
1 hour. Once the thing jumps off, there's not going to be any time to react. The time to react is now.
Verse 11, and the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buyeth their merchandise any more.
No more buying and selling.
Verse 12, the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner vessels of ivory and all manner vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble.
Go ahead.
Verse 13, and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and chariots and slaves and souls of men. Am I speaking too loud?
No, you're good. Everything will be gone. No more slaves. No more souls of men. Everything is come to an end, because this place is and will be destroyed. Her sins have reached up to heaven. The Most High can't take it anymore. Continue.
Verse 14, and the fruits that thy soul lusted after are departed from thee, and all things which were dainty and goodly are departed from thee, and thou shalt find them no more at all. Verse 15, the merchants of these things which were made rich by her shall stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing. Verse 16, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls.
Yep.
Verse 17, for in 1 hour so great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the company and ships and sailors and as many as trade by sea stood afar off.
Absolutely. Everybody's going to be scared to even come near this place. They're going to stand afar off and just watch the burning.
Verse 18, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What is like? Shalakia. Verse 18, and cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like unto this great city?
Go ahead.
Verse 19, and they cast dust on their heads and cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, that great city wherein were made rich all that had ships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour is she made desolate.
In 1 hour was she made desolate. That gives anybody that's still there when this thing jumps off no time to react. So I hope everybody has a good understanding of who we are. I had to throw those last scriptures in there to know that we are all waking up as a people, and that it's just in the nick of time, because there's not too much time left to prepare yourself to get out of Babylon and make it into the safe zones. So I implore each and every one of my brothers and sisters to please get right with the Most High. And we'll end it off with Ecclesiastes 12 and 13 to sum it all up.
Okay. Ecclesiastes 12 and 13. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear AHAYAH and keep his commandments, for this is the whole duty of man.
Come. And on that, I would like to say thank everyone who tuned in. Hopefully you'll listen in on my other videos I have coming up. First and foremost, get yourself right with the Most High and worship in spirit and in truth. And on that note, I will say thank you, the Wada, and Shalom.
And all praises to AHAYAH Bahashem Yashaya Wawawak.
Shalom. Shalom.